So I'm going to give you guys an update on the food shortage situation that is likely to devastate low-income and middle-class families the worst, and could very well likely force many poorer households into a very tough situation of balancing food, hunger, and their finances, while already barely making ends meet and living paycheck to paycheck. These are the families out there that are pretty much one paycheck away from being homeless, that are going to feel the effects of these likely food shortages and inflation-driven higher prices on food as a result of less crop yields, less food available. And not to mention their mental health and overall well-being is at stake. Now, I'm gonna let you know how this is gonna affect us here in America. So I hope this information is very helpful to you and your family. So I'd ask that you share this information with anyone else that you think could find it helpful and useful in their preparation. Now, even if you're not a farmer, you all know that different crops are harvested at different times of year, right? So I know you guys are all very smart and intelligent people, and that is why you're here watching this video, as always. And you want to gain a better understanding and obtain as much information as possible so you can be knowledgeable on these subjects so that you can better prepare yourself and your families. But even if you're not a farmer, you all know that different crops are harvested at different times. So for example, you start planting winter wheat in the fall, and then you harvest it in the spring. And likewise, spring wheat is planted in the spring and then starts to get harvested in the fall. And with that being said, the bulk of this year's growing season will start to be harvested towards the end of September. And that's this month. That's just a few short weeks away, folks. Are you prepared for this? Now, if you have been paying attention to what's been going on in the news and watching this channel, you already know the threats we face and some of the obstacles that we must overcome. Although we're crossing our fingers and we're hoping for the best, we must not kid ourselves, and we have to be honest when we admit that we're off to a bad start. So here's what we know so far. And this information that I'm about to share with you is coming from the United States Department of Agriculture, the USDA. They released a recent global market analysis, and this includes worldwide data as of June 2022. And here's the current change in production of key crops this year compared to last year. And I want you guys to take a look at these charts that I'm gonna put up on the screen. This first one is rice production. It's down. See that? 1/3% year over year. Wheat is down too, down 0.72%. Barley is down 1.55%. Corn is down 2.49%. Oats, they're down 10.8%. And soybeans, they're down 12.3%. But so far, listening to some of these statistics, they don't sound too bad, right? So, for example, the wheat production, that's down less than 1%, right? And you have to keep in mind that with countries banning the export of many crops and the Russia-Ukraine war, supply chain problems and logistics, they've gone from bad to worse. Therefore, at this moment in time, the world needs production to be up substantially to make up for all these challenges that we face. And that is just not currently the case. Production has not been increasing. In fact, production has been falling. So this is basically just not good. Now, let's talk about the situation worldwide, and then we're going to narrow it down and we're going to drill down into America. So just stick around. But ultimately, this is going to affect you and me here in the United States the most. The United Nations have already issued a warning, and they said that the world faces catastrophe because of the upcoming global food shortage. The UN has predicted that multiple countries will declare famine in 2022, and then next year could be even worse. The UN said that harvests across the world will decrease as farmers struggle with high fertilizer and high energy prices. Now, I don't want to scare you or alarm you. I don't want to add any unnecessary fear or worry to your day. So first off, let me save you the suspense and tell you that we're probably not going to have famine here in America. So don't panic. This is not fear mongering. And this is because America is a massive food exporter. However, we do need to be aware that if you have crop yields much less worldwide, this is going to mean higher food prices in America. Now, we have talked about this in previous videos over the last several months. And if you have been subscribed to my channel, then you know what I'm talking about and the threats many will face. And if you've already experienced pain and heartache as a result of inflation with the Biden administration at the helm and haven't prepared to insulate yourself, your family, your finances from the effects of rising prices on food, rent, housing, gas, fuel, diesel, you name it, then it saddens me to say that you are going to be in line to feel the most pain and will feel it before anyone else, more than likely. And additionally, you got to think about it like this. If there's mass famine in North Africa and the Middle East, can you guess what happens next? There's going to be a mass migration from those regions into Europe. And this is going to cause more problems for Europe. And this could further deepen or prolong their recession. And then you probably already know what's going to happen after that, or what comes next. Yep, that's right. Europe's problems are going to become America's problems. So we send more money over there. The Biden administration continues to prop up their economy. Money that, frankly, we don't have. Taxpayers' money, money that could be strengthening the Social Security program that we pay into, money that could be used as stimulus payments for those in need here in America. So instead, we go deeper into debt, we print more money to send to other countries, and we have more inflation. Easy, right? And you already know that food prices have gone up a lot. I mean, you see this at the grocery stores with your own eyes. And if you haven't, check out PFS on YT. She covers this in pretty much every single video. I think she might actually be hitting a store soon and giving you guys her take on Publix, Costco, Sam's Club, just like she used to do in the past. So go check it out. I'll link her channel in the description so you can find it. So now I want to summarize for you how this happens, and then we're going to go over the current status. So over the past 2 years, food prices have shot up because of the pandemic. And let me just give you an example about what I'm talking about. So let's just say that you're a food manufacturer. Two things happened during the pandemic. The first, downsize and massive layoffs. The second thing is that you have to completely change your business model. And let's say that before the pandemic, you supplied restaurants, okay? And during the lockdowns, you had to shift your business completely from supplying restaurants to now supplying grocery stores. So we've come out of the pandemic and you have to change your business model yet again to go back to supplying restaurants. And this is creating chaos in the supply chain. And while all of this is happening, you're trying to rehire your workers during a national labor shortage. According to Mitch McConnell, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, Americans don't want to work because they are flush with cash and their bank accounts are just overflowing with money from all the stimulus checks that they received in the past. But you and I know that this is not true. The labor shortage goes far deeper than some stimulus check or increased unemployment benefits. It's smoke and mirrors at the very least. But now, many don't come back or they switch industries and they're jumping ship, going places to make more money, do less work, possibly work from home. It's just a disaster. Next, Russia invades Ukraine. Now, this causes natural gas prices to spike and fertilizer prices to spike too. Now, take a look at this chart. Over the past 5 years, fertilizer prices have come down slightly in June, but as you can see, they're so much higher compared to pre-pandemic levels. And I already mentioned natural gas with Russia because natural gas, that's a very important component of fertilizer. So fertilizer is made up of nitrogen, phosphate, and potash. So you mine phosphate and potash and you get the nitrogen by taking it from the air and converting it into ammonia and then refining it. And this process requires natural gas to be completed. And why do you think Russia makes so much nitrogen fertilizer? When it comes to oil prices were on the rise before Russia invaded Ukraine, but obviously that didn't help the situation. Additionally, the limited refining capabilities are keeping diesel prices elevated as well. Remember the diesel fuel shortage scare, summer 2022? The announcement that Love's and Flying J put out to truck drivers? Diesel fuel prices continue to remain elevated this summer, and you can take a look at this chart. And look at that lime green. That line, that's the price of diesel in 2022. The other lines are 2017 to 2021. This is a problem because diesel fuel powers the agricultural industry. The tractors that plant, fertilize, and harvest, they all require diesel fuel. Shipping crops by ship or rail also requires diesel fuel, with rail being another concern as we are days away from the possibility of a massive shutdown and potential strike by the Railroad Workers Union. At least 9 out of 12 railroads could possibly shut down. But transporting the crops from the distribution center to the grocery stores, that requires trucks that run on diesel. So there's a lot of moving pieces here, okay? And we stopped building oil refineries because Biden's on this green tech midlife crisis kick. But honestly, that we stopped building them way before that because of the costs and regulations behind them just made them non-profitable businesses for huge companies and corporations to want to take on. Although many of the products that we use every single day that don't include fuel, gas, diesel, they're petroleum based. So these oil refineries are really, really important to our supply chain and productivity besides just transportation, fuel, and the ability to farm. Meanwhile, the remaining refineries in the U.S. are currently operating at 94% capacity, and you can't go to 100%. Attempting to reach 100% capacity would increase the risk of system failure and permanent damage, and that would just make the situation even worse than it already is. Can you guys imagine how painful things would be here in America if we were to lose another oil refinery? And then, compounding all these problems in multiple countries, they start banning the exports of fertilizers and crops. And then you throw in the droughts, and this is how we ended up here with substantial food price inflation. Pretty simple, right? Now, let me show you this. This is the food price index, and this is the international price of a basket of food commodities. And here's the monthly food price index from Y-charts over the past 5 years. Now, you can see how food prices fell by 2% in June. However, they're still up 15% since the start of the year. And look how much it is up compared to last year, and also compared to pre-pandemic levels. Starting to see the trend here. For June, grains, sugar, and vegetable oil, they drove down overall prices. However, the cost of meat and dairy continued to go up, and they hit new record highs. Now, I don't need to tell you who will be most affected by the upcoming food shortage, but I will. It's going to be poor countries, and it's going to be low-income people within all countries. Now, I'm going to read you a list of countries, and these countries and areas, they're the ones that face a severe risk of famine. The United Nations are calling these areas hunger hotspots, and these hunger hotspots are the ones that are most likely to face catastrophic conditions. So here's the list: Afghanistan, Algeria, Egypt, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Somalia, South Sudan, Sri Lanka, Sudan, and Tunisia. And the total combined population of these listed areas is over 600 million people. The UN is warning of global destabilization, global starvation, and mass migration on an unprecedented scale. Now, it's very unlikely that low-income people in rich countries will starve to death. However, they're going to get hit hard with rising food prices and price inflation. Food bank usage is already on the rise in the U.S. Grocery stores in America, they're reporting that customers are trading down by buying store brand and generic brands more often. They're steadily reporting lower sale volumes for the expensive meats and fish. And this is not just in America. This is occurring in wealthy countries all across the world. In Britain, the Office for National Statistics, they reported that 49% of British people bought less food than normal based on results from recent surveys and studies. And a lot of people ask the question, why can't we just solve this food shortage situation problem? And why can't we just stop the famine? And honestly, that's a very good question, because the world actually produces 2 times more calories than the world needs. We have a surplus. We waste a lot of food. However, you have to understand that hunger is a logistical problem. And a lot of people don't understand this. A lot of people are going to hear what I just said, and it's just going to go in one ear and out the other. So people will hear that the world produces 2 times more calories than the world actually needs, and they'll just say, well, so why are people starving? All right, let me explain. Let me explain this to you because, again, it's a very good question. Let's say that you want to feed starving people in Somalia, right? And you probably know it's hot over there, so you can't just warehouse the fruits and vegetables and meats outside. You know, exposed to that type of temperature, you have to build cold storage facilities all over the place, and that's not cheap. Cold storage facilities don't build themselves either. And do you know how much food rots as it waits to pass through customs clearance? It's mind-blowing. From shipping to storage delivery, insects and rodents, they're going to spoil the food too. Do you know how inefficient it is to ship food when the road networks are bad? Or if there are no roads at all? They're pretty much non-existent in some countries. So for all you international travelers out there, I'm sure that many of you have traveled down roads that are literally made of rocks, and you're just praying to God that your tires don't pop. But if they did pop, hopefully you bought the warranty. And how about the packaging of all this food? That's very difficult when there's inventory shortages and when there's supply shortages all across the supply chains. Not to mention employee shortages. So it's very complicated, and it's very expensive to get food from the farm to the grocery store and from point A to point B. It takes infrastructure. It takes investments. It takes people wanting to work. So let me summarize for you the key takeaways from today's video. The threat is that rising fuel and fertilizer prices, along with supply chain disruptions, are going to result in lower crop yields in 2022 and 2023. Food prices have come down slightly. However, they're still up 15% for the year and substantially higher compared to pre-pandemic levels. Countries in Africa and the Middle East, they are the highest risk of experiencing famine, and this would lead to mass migration to Europe. Low-income individuals and low-income families, possibly impoverished in poverty, below the line of poverty, the working class poor, middle class soon to be wiped out, they will continue to face more financial hardship from ongoing food price inflation. And we're going to see the bulk of harvest results in September and October and November. Please subscribe and I'll keep you guys updated on the newest developments. And I would like to thank you guys for your time. I know it's valuable and I really do appreciate it so much. You guys be safe. Take care. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.